The sun was setting in brilliant shades of orange when I pulled into my driveway after 3 exhausting weeks of secret board meetings. The moment my tires crunched against the pavement, I knew something was wrong. A bright orange paper flapped against my garage door. I ripped it off, my pulse quickening. Violation notice, unauthorized vehicle storage. Beneath that, in the HOA president's perfect cursive handwriting, motorcycles reduce property values and attract an undesirable element to our community. I clenched my jaw as I looked over at my pristine 2023 Harley-Davidson Road Glide. It was worth more than Margaret Whitmore's luxury SUV, the very woman who had plastered this ridiculous notice on my property. Margaret ran our HOA like a personal kingdom. I'd met her twice since moving in 6 months ago, once when she lectured me about my lawn being half an inch too tall, and another time when she had her husband measure the exact distance between my mailbox and the curb. Just then, she power-walked past my house in her designer exercise outfit, barely glancing at me before tapping her $500 smartwatch. The message was clear. Time is ticking. I considered chasing after her, explaining that I wasn't just some random motorcycle enthusiast. I was about to be announced as the new CEO of Harley-Davidson. But something told me to wait. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started taking photos of my bike, the notice, and the pristine condition of my property, just in case. That's when I spotted Tom Peterson, Margaret's right-hand man on the HOA board, watering his lawn. He smirked. Shame about that bike. Rules are rules. I noticed his freshly painted tow truck parked in his driveway. Peterson's towing. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about property values. This was a racket. At exactly 6 a.m. The next morning, my security camera alert woke me. I bolted upright and ran to the window just in time to see a tow truck backing into my driveway. My stomach dropped. I sprinted downstairs, yanking open my front door just as my Harley, was being lifted onto the truck. Hey, I shouted, running barefoot across the pavement. Too late. The driver, Tom Peterson himself, flashed me a grin as he secured the chains. Unauthorized vehicles are subject to immediate removal, he called out. My phone buzzed. A text from Margaret. HOA regulations are enforced. Office hours start at 9 a.m. I gritted my teeth. This wasn't just an abuse of power. This was personal. At exactly 9 a.m., I walked into the HOA office, trying to stay calm. Margaret sat behind her desk, adjusting her pearl necklace. Tom lounged in a chair, tossing his tow truck keys in the air. Mr. Zeiss, Margaret greeted, not even looking up from her computer. I have your paperwork right here. She slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a copy of a bylaw I'd never seen before, highlighted in bright yellow. No recreational vehicles may be stored in driveways. I set the folder down. That bike is worth more than your annual salary. You can't just take it. Margaret finally looked up, smiling sweetly. Actually, we can. Rules are rules. Tom snickered. Standard impound fee is $500. Cash only. I pulled out my phone and started snapping pictures of the documents. Margaret's smile flickered. Photography isn't allowed in the office. I smirked. Is that written down somewhere, too? As I left, I caught sight of the security camera in the office corner. I had a feeling those tapes would show some interesting conversations. That night, I dove into the HOA documents. 3 hours and 2 cups of coffee later, I found what I was looking for. The motorcycle ban had been added to the website 3 months ago, right after Tom Peterson's towing won the HOA contract. I dug deeper. In the past 3 months, the HOA had paid Peterson's towing over $47,000. Then I found the real bombshell. Margaret had moved all HOA funds to a small bank where Tom Peterson sat on the board of directors. They weren't enforcing rules. They were stealing. I needed proof. So I made a call. By the time Saturday morning arrived, I had a plan and reinforcements. At 8 a.m., the distant rumble of motorcycles echoed through the neighborhood. Margaret, watering her prized roses, dropped her garden hose as the first group of riders turned onto our street. Hundreds of bikes. All are spotlessly maintained. Margaret's phone was already in her hand. Tom, get over here now, she screeched. But Tom was busy, dealing with the news vans parked outside his towing lot. I walked up to Margaret, a thick envelope in hand. Beautiful morning for a community gathering, isn't it? I said. She snatched the envelope. Inside, A cease and desist letter from my legal team, plus photographs of every illegal tow. Her face drained of color. Just then, Mrs. Chin from across the street walked up with a tray of cookies. Actually, Margaret, we checked the bylaws. There's nothing against community events. Behind her, families were setting up lemonade stands for the bikers. The neighborhood kids were getting motorcycle safety lessons. Margaret's hands trembled as she dialed 911. I smiled and waved to Officer Rivera, who was already here, enjoying a cookie. Taken care of, I said. Speaking of police, they're very interested in those kickbacks you've been getting. A black sedan pulled up. A woman stepped out, flashing a badge. District Attorney's Office. Margaret's pearl necklace snapped as her jaw dropped. The forensic accountant confirmed it, $200,000 in illegal towing fees. Margaret and Tom were arrested. The HOA was dissolved. And the neighborhood? It thrived. We turned the old HOA office into a community workshop, offering free motorcycle maintenance classes. The kids formed a bicycle repair club. Even the former HOA members started riding, properly parked, of course. As for Margaret, 6 months later, I got a letter from her new neighborhood. She was complaining about motorcycle noise. I sent back a Harley-Davidson catalog with a note. Bikes are still available at an employee discount.